Yeah, so that happened. Internet completely failed on the part one. So here I am using and then I couldn't get the webcam to start again. My camera, nothing was working. So here I am. Hold on a second. See if I can spruce that up. Um, yeah, now I'm on the webcam on the laptop. Not quite as pretty, but maybe I should let people know what's happening. I'm gonna share. At this point, you know, anybody's still watching, you know. Okay. But at least, I don't know why I'm looking at the camera. There's no camera isn't working up there. Dumb. Now you can hear me pitter pat away. Tip tap, tip tap, tip tap. Whoops. No, I don't want that. I want to copy the link and then copy it to. Oh well, it's not working right. But forget about it. Nobody's watching. 2.5 minutes into it. Let me see if I can uh, look a little bit more like. Oh, and now I'm way too low, huh? I hate technology sometimes. Chair's not high enough. That, that. Disassemble some crap. Because we're all friends here, right? Right. Used to hope so. So looking back at the past replay, uh, I look all washed out. I mean, this webcam is terrible. Uh, I don't know. Anyway, so let's start over. Like I meant to really start at 1 o'clock instead of 12 o'clock. Oh well, somebody will show up or not. Doesn't matter. From the top, welcome to Matt Reviews Books again. The fourth annual live stream, Matt Reviews Books live stream, January 1st, 2022. I suppose I could get a microphone and it would sound even better, but then I would have to leave and be staring at my curtains for a minute and a half. I don't know. We'll just roll with this. Just roll. Um, due to difficulties, you already saw the other one. Technical difficulties today, but at least the other thing is we're not fuzzy. We don't have the fog on the lens like we did before. That was I had no idea that you could fog a lens by bringing a camera in from a cold spot into a nice warm spot because I got the fire going and it's all well and good. You can see my camera bag back there. It's in the shot. Anyway, today is hopefully going to kick off at least 6 months of productive creativity on this channel. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 books that I read and take some time to go through it. And then, of course, you usually have a little segment in memoriam for a author of some particular note, and not just that they're significant, but that they're kind of significant to me in my pop culture life. And god damn, this is just you'll have to forget the brief profanity. Um. Anyway, so first off, let me get all my stuff again. First off, I swear, I was talking for 20 minutes. I was talking about I talked about 2 books before I realized that the stream had stopped. And not just the stream had stopped, but the internet had just turned off. I had no internet signal on my modem. I had to restart the modem. It blew. Anyway, so we're going to start over. First book actually is an advanced copy. It was published in July. I actually had the review copy before that, like in May. Supposed to have a review out, written and recorded, posted. I was hoping to get it out by the time this was published, but no dice. I procrastinated, and it didn't happen. I finally finish the written review. That is over at www.matthewreedmedia.com, and so you can read it there. The other 2 don't have written reviews. Might get to one of them. I can never make promises. I always have the best of intentions to say I'm going to do something, and I never do. In this case, I will just leave it at this. It will be where I do the video reviews for these 3 books. First one is brand new. It's a debut novel from T.J. Newman. It is Falling. If you've seen anything, if you follow the New York Times best-selling lists, which I don't really do here and there, but every so often I catch some drift. I have reading as a hobby. It's an avocation, but I did see that she did make an impact. She did make the list, and Falling. Hold this up again. T.J. Newman. Ms. Newman was a airline attendant, stewardess, and what we used to call stewardess, but now they're much more than just that. For many years, she was flying around the world, and while she was on those flights, she wrote a book, and it is an intensely good book. I really enjoy it. It's actually an airline. It's an airport kind of book. Literally, it takes place on a plane. It's a contained thriller. No ums. It's very good. Basic premise. Here we go. Is uh, a group of terrorists, or a couple of terrorists, or bad guys have kidnapped the family of an airline pilot and holding them hostage to force him to either crash the plane carrying all his passengers, or his family will die. One of the flight attendants, the stewardess on the aircraft, has a nephew in the FBI, and that's how the law enforcement side gets involved. They get notified that way. And so there's a 2-pronged adventure where there's the contained thriller in the sky of, like, how are these passengers and this pilot going to get out of this situation where it seems like everybody's going to die, and will the special agents on the ground stop the bad guys. It's fast paced, but not at the expense of characterization. I liked all the characters, including the antagonists. The antagonists were sympathetic, even if they were terrorists. Their background is Kurdish fighters. They're Kurds living in the northern region of Iraq, and they're um, like many extremists. Not to say that there is any justification objectively, but from their point of view, they feel they've been wronged, and they're trying to get a redress of grievances by doing the same thing to us that kind of happened to them, kill lots of people. So, in that regard, historically speaking, they're quite sympathetic and they're consistent with the types of people who think they have a grievance with um, America and Americans. It's still, while that doesn't justify it, it actually makes it their comeuppance quite satisfying at the end, but also tragic. It's a Pyrrhic victory in many ways, and so it's for a pretty fleet little book. Well, for a quick read, for a fast-paced read, it's actually got some other substance to it, and it's very enjoyable. Really enjoy that aspect of the book. Yeah, 11:45 in. Okay, we're gonna take a moment and see. You gotta listen to me click, click, click. Unfortunately, one of these days I'm gonna figure out how to do this live stream like the big dogs. Like the established guy. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this thing, is to try and, you know, it's to learn how to do this. Learn how to do this right. And now I can't figure out where any of my stuff is. One of these days. You would think for a guy who is does deals with computers all day every day as part of his job, would know how to run a live stream, but I don't. And I'm doing this kind of so I can learn how to tackle this, because it may come up in a uh, work situation, and this is what's anyway. So I can also tell how interesting. Oh, look, I can get rid of that. Yeah, try this again. This is something else. All right, we're gonna copy this link, put it in. Come join me. Almost might be worth it to next time try doing a Facebook Live rather than do YouTube streaming. Um, I don't know. I know I don't have the bandwidth to try and do both simultaneously. So I guess it's probably between now and next January. Look up this stuff. Try and figure out why this stuff isn't working, and how to make it work. Because I guess I should probably put more thought into it than 2 weeks. of just planning the content. Figure out how I can do this. I feel disgusted with myself. All right, let's get back to it. Let's read. Oh, where are my notes? All right. Next up, uh, The Hive. The Hive by Greg Olson. Uh, so, Mr. Olson's marketing team, marketing representative, reached out to me to ask if I would be interested in reading his newest work. And Greg Olson has a lot of books, many books. Never read him, but so that's why I'm here. Try and learn, read new authors, discover new authors. And he's certainly not a new author. He's been doing it for looks like decades. There's so much writing he's done. Very prolific. And so his team reached out to me, said, would I be interested in reading his new one? And I said, sure, why not? And they sent me The Hive, published this year, or okay, last year, 2021. And very, even to, very nice enough to send me a Hancock, John Hancock, a signature, an autograph. So I appreciate that for Mr. Olson taking time out to sign it, even if it might have taken 2 seconds. It was 2 seconds that he had to went out of his way to uh, personalize this before I could read it, and I'm glad he did. I really enjoyed this book. I've never read any any other Greg Olson books. This is my first one, and I'm glad I did. This sucker, The Hive, is a mystery. Uh, it is a mystery, not really hard boiled. It's definitely a character study. It is a long burn. It's a slow burn, but it's a good one. Never, the tension never leaves. It's always all the scenes, all the narrative is feels like there's always another shoe about to drop, and we're always about to find the big piece. The piece of the puzzle in a thriller. You're like, aha, I know that one, and it turns out, aha, you are wrong. And that is what Mr. Olson does very well in The Hive. Every time I thought, I know what's going on, I was wrong. That's the person who did it. Nope. That's the person who did it. Wrong again. Um, it's that makes it really enjoyable, and that makes a mystery really enjoyable, where you think you have just enough crumbs where you can start reassembling the cake. Nope. So right all the way through the final. Where did I start? I tried to mark right about where things started to kind of come together, and that's not true. It was actually like maybe right at the tail end. Does that make sense? I mean, the resolution um I thought was satisfying and cathartic and kind of, Pyrrhic as well. I don't really like happy endings. They lived happily ever after. The books that make me keep coming back. There's always an element of a balance of loss and gain and success and failure. And The Hive. Oh, what's it actually about? Well, I'm glad you asked that. Zero people who are watching. But here we go. I'll just read this to you because I did it last time. But it turns out that I was reading to nothing because the internet failed and the camera failed and all that. In the Pacific Northwest, try this again. In the Pacific Northwest, Detective Lindsay Jackman is investigating the murder of a young journalist found at the bottom of a ravine. Lindsay soon learns that the victim was writing an expose. Her subject, a charismatic wellness guru who's pulled millions into her euphoric orbit. To hear Marnie Spellman tell it, when she was a child, a swarm of bees lifted her off the ground and toward the sunlight, illumining her spiritual connection with nature. An uncanny event on which Marnie built a cosmetics empire and became a legend, a healer, and the queen of holistic health and eternal beauty. In her inner circle is an intimate band of devotees called the Hive. They share Marnie's secrets of success, including one cloaked in darkness for 20 years. Determined to uncover the possibly deadly mysteries of the group, Lindsay focuses her investigation on Marnie and the former members of the Hive, who are just as determined to keep Lindsay from their secrets as they are to maintain their status. So, truth be told, I first read that and kind of was like cosmetics, fashion, lifestyle, yeah, holistic guru stuff. Yeah, I was like, how mystery can that be? How thrilling can that be? And you know what? I was wrong. That was very thrilling. It's a very much a mystery, and everybody is just a little bit sinister. I didn't realize that even a health guru fashionista could be that sinister. But apparently, I mean, in hindsight, I guess it's sort of like what the murder of Johnny Versace. I didn't realize that fashion could be quite that deadly, but it is. Hey, how you doing? Looks um got somebody watching. I'm glad to see that. How you doing? This is Matt Reviews Books. If you're just joining us, me, and this is Matt Reviews Books, the annual New Year's Day live stream. If you're looking for the other live stream, well, that ended not because I ended it, but because the internet and technology and everything was going wrong. So now I'm just using the uh, the webcam on my laptop. It works. It works. Eric Hansen, Happy New Year to you as well, Eric Hansen. And I'm glad to be here. Glad to be in a new year. Glad to have 2021 out the door, and that door is shut. And so we're talking about a couple of books. Just finished talking about The Hive by Greg Olson. If you haven't read that, go check it out. Once we're done with the stream, I guess I'll put I'll try and find a link to it. I'm still learning how to do all of this, the live stream links, and maybe I should spend more time trying to figure it out instead of just winging it by the seat of my pants. Mixed metaphors, but you know what I'm saying. And finally, in terms of talking about books, we're up to um, The Maltese Falcon by Daschle Hammett. I never read it before. I had read some Raymond Chandler, but never Daschle Hammett. And I tell you what, I drop things. I'll tell you what, Daschle Hammett is a better writer, I think, than Raymond Chandler. But that's subjective. Everybody has their favorite pulp novelist and hard boiled detective. But for me, I feel like Daschle Hammett is the one that sets the bar. Not only is it hard boiled and it's pulpy and it's all the best elements of that genre, but also it's really well written. It's a fun action story. It's action. It's a thriller. It's a who done it, and then why do they do it, and how do we get out of here? And yes, the Sam Spade, our protagonist, is not a hero in the classic sense. He's he's got some moral gray area, and he's not afraid to exist in a moral gray area, but does have a certain, well, I actually think the bogey is a perfect Sam Spade. And I couldn't help thinking about Humphrey Bogart as Sam Spade the entire time I read the book. He's one of those occasions of perfect casting. I don't know if Dashiell Hammett wrote the role for Humphrey Bogart, but he's a it's a great it's a great book. The story ultimately is lady comes to Sam Spade, uh, Private Eye, Private Dick, back in the gumshoe, and she's looking for help. Turns out that she's not telling everything she knows about this guy who's following her that she wants to have followed, and it lies and web of deceit. And ultimately, it does. It's about who's going to find this ancient. Well, it's not ancient, I guess, but it's very old, 1,000-year-old bird from like the Knights Templar. The statue called, not called, but the statue of this falcon that had once been encrusted with gems and gold, and it was highly valuable. And then it was painted over by like this enamel lacquer, so it's just a um, black bird now. This sculpture, it's the Maltese Falcon, and everybody's trying to find it because it is worth a lot of money. Now, this ugh, dropping more stuff, I like that. Maltese Falcon. See, I should spend more time researching this stuff before I open my mouth. But originally written 1929. So Dashiell Hammett, when he writes about millions of dollars in 1929 money, we're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars today. So it's kind of quaint that it's like, oh, it's worth $1 million. Yeah, I get that, but there's stuff out there worth hundreds of times worth that now. But again, 1929, different world, and a really good read. That's something. There's actually a little blurb. What is it? There's this blurb on the, like a review blurb on the front of this issue. Um, the Boston Globe. It's like Dashiell Hammett is a master of the detective novel. Novel, yes, but also one hell of a writer. That I think sums up exactly my feelings. I'm gonna look for more Dashiell Hammett. That just feels like it's right in my wheelhouse. Which also means I should probably look for some John D. McDonald because I've heard that he's very similar. We'll see. I'll go check it out. Um, yeah, that's my thoughts on Dashiell Hammett and the Maltese Falcon. I would, I almost say, about to say, I could see that being adapted to the big screen, but it already has been, and it's been done in a way that should never ever be repeated. Sort of like Casablanca. Don't I hope no Hollywood filmmaker ever gets it in his brain to reshoot Casablanca because that exists perfectly as it is in its own space. Same thing with the Maltese Falcon. Good movie. It's a much better book, but not because it's a bad movie. It's just this is a good book. It's a really good book. So that's with the books. That's up. That's so. Talked a little bit about Falling by T.J. Newman. If you haven't, oh, I have an idea. Let's see if I can do this. If I'm going to regret it or not. Um, Try and actually give you a link to. Gotta stop saying. Where to go? Where to go? Where to go? Hey, here we go. I might actually know how to do this. This seems like it's working. But I put a link in the chat. There we go. Link to Falling, TJ Newman on MatthewReedMedia.com. I feel so empowered. So I guess what are we up to? What are we doing? Okay, so this version, the second half, the second, not even half, the second part, the part that worked in the live stream, this portion, uh, where are we up to? We are up to sort of the memoriam stage, and it's usually way we work is I just sort of pick an author who's died in the last year, who not only was notable in and of themselves as a major author, but also that they meant something to me. Like they had an impact on me. So while I appreciate that Joan Didion was a important writer and voice in California literature, I never read any of her stuff. So doesn't wouldn't have kind of doesn't have the resonance for me. However, somebody who did have some resonance with their passing was Anne Rice. And where did my okay? Um, click, 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 click. Yeah, I should look the stuff up and have it ready before I open my mouth on a live stream. But live and learn. Yeah, actually, Anne Rice died just December 11th, 2021. So just a little while ago, just a few weeks ago. Um, and she was like for many people, my entree into the supernatural, um, the supernatural. I guess it's she touched on some romance elements, but there was also some baroque elements in her writing. When I read Interview with the Vampire, it was the first time, and it was probably the early 90s. First time I had really been like, hey, wait a minute, vampires other than Dracula? Yeah, vampires other than Dracula. And while I like the movie, get out of here. One of my producers, see, that's him walking by in the. Picking up. Where are you? There you go. See? Oh, I'm blaming technical difficulties on Dante, my producer, and also the intern. Um, no, stay away from my microphone. He loves the dead cat on a microphone. But Anne Rice made vampires cool and more than just a parody or a version of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Her vampires were unique. And then as time went by, I read her other stuff. Servant of the Bones, that's the one. I can remember that. I think, see, I'm blanking on the titles. Servant of the Bones, which has nothing to do with vampires, but is the story of a basically a ghost, an ancient Sumerian ghost, and the something of the uh, timeless love story. Anne Rice loved her romantic elements, which makes sense. Vampires are actually very romantic, and adding that to the rest of, I mean, let's face it, even the Wolfman's romantic. The Mummy has some romance. We wouldn't keep watching it if we weren't somehow romanticizing dead people coming back to life. And Anne Rice did it with style, and she did it with a way to just really engage the imagination, right up to the point where I think it was Memnock the Devil, where I just felt like he was maybe reaching, or maybe it was just not my headspace anymore. It's not to say I didn't really appreciate what she did and go on to read other supernatural fantasy, such as Laurel K. Hamilton and Jim Butcher. I would not have read those really if it hadn't been for reading Anne Rice first. So here's to you, Anne Rice. Uh, rest in peace, and thank you for all the work, the those fine stories that you left us. And with that, that wrapping up this year's live stream. Here we go. I guess if you're still watching, feel free to subscribe. YouTube.com/. Matt Reviews Books, but then you know that because you're here already. Uh, this usually kicks off about 6 months of good productivity on this channel, and then life usually distracts me and I get pulled away. Also, this year I will be trying to tweet every day, once a day, regardless of whether it's clever or just dumb. But I'm kind of making a point to do a daily tweet. So you can follow me over at Twitter at Matt's Book Review. And then I'm also on Instagram, Matt Reviews Books. Not so much as I am. That's again, life happens, and then these things get dropped on the wayside, and I'm doing stuff like paying job stuff. And yeah, also on Facebook, Matt's Book Review. Matt Reviews Books. Can't even remember the name of my. What's wrong with me today? Can't get things to work, and I can't remember the name of my own channel. Anyway, so with that, thank you for watching. Everyone who was there, who's been watching in and out, thank you for your comment, Eric Hansen. Appreciate your time out of your New Year day. It's 2022. I'm going to go into it refreshed, reinvigorated, and re. See, lost that word. That word's gone. Very sad. Inspired, re-inspired. And with that, I will see you next time. Where's that off?